This is the part 1 continuation about a guy who was bitten by many poisonous insects. Part 1 will be in the video description and in the attached comment. Thanks for watching. The elder, meanwhile, continued to attack different people. They, together with their guards, attacked one family. They started to burn houses in their village just like that. There were many people killed and their bodies lay on the ground. They tied the people up so they couldn't escape. The attackers said that it was naive of them to believe that they would not find out where they were hiding. The girl said that the head is the same savage as he was before. She asked him if he really wasn't afraid of heavenly punishment. Chief Chidok said that he dealt with 20 births with his own hands. The head grabbed her face with his hand, and he asked, "Where's this punishment?" He asked to tell me where the secret books of the Hongyak clan are. But the girl spat in his face. The girl said that all they can do is steal and kill, and Moram doesn't care about that at all. And since when did the Union become a place for uniting worthless rabble? Out of anger, the head kicked the girl. The blow was strong, and the girl fell to the ground. He was angry with this girl. He didn't understand how she dared to open her mouth if she didn't know anything. He hit her again because she is not allowed to spit in his face. One servant, who at the same time was also a warrior, turned to the head. They found secret recordings. The head said that there was no point in hiding them because they stole them anyway, and they will find excellent use if they value them so much. The head asked the girl to also say thank you for the fact that their achievements would outlive their clan and pass on to the Chidek clan. He started laughing with the girl, and the servant asked the elders, what should they do with the captives? The head believed that these people alive could create unnecessary problems for them, so they needed to be killed. The girl began to cry and prayed that someone would punish them for all their atrocity. Houses in the village continued to burn. At night, near the house of the Chidok family, the head asked for more drinks. The servant reminded him that he had already drunk a lot and should not continue. But the head was angry with him because the servant was not asked this, and he had to bring the drink. He continued to pour himself a glass. He understood that there are masters who, without making any effort, keep everything under their control. He wanted to live just like them. He thought that this would be the case when he entered into an alliance. His plans were ruined. The leader believed that because of Elder Man Neo, they lost everything they had. He was very angry and hit the table with his hand. He considered his options for what to do next. The head just didn't want to give up, and he didn't care what others said. If his path to what he wants is so far, he needs to find a way to shorten this road. All valuable books of small clans will pass into the hands of the Chidok family. He will seize any opportunity. A strange fog was spreading in the room. He continued to sit at the table and after some time, fell asleep. When he woke up, he didn't understand anything. The thoughts in his head were kind of a blur. A couple of seconds later, he saw his hand, which was covered in blisters. He was scared and didn't understand what it was. He began to run to his servants to find at least someone. But his look was very confused by what he saw. Lying on the floor were his servants who had the same symptoms. Some of the servants were foaming at the mouth. Some servants remained alive. They began to call the head to them. They said that when they woke up, they found it on their bodies. They asked with fear why this happened. The head thought about the symptoms. There was profuse sweating and red blisters, a dullness of all sensations, which he at first attributed to intoxication, and came to the conclusion that these were symptoms of poisoning with the cinnabar mineral. The head asked if they had an antidote. The servant said that they mined it in that blocked mine, and there should be some left. He ordered them to quickly bring it here. The head admitted that someone had made a mistake when working with poisons. Standing outside, his attention focused on the forest. It was from there that this poison was coming, and someone attacked them. Someone had the courage to do this. Near the cauldron from which the poison was coming stood that guy Juggin. The poison was not used on the guy. He has matured noticeably. After all, he already had immunity to poisons. Coming out of the mine, the guy cried. The night air hurt his skin, and the light of the bright moon blinded his eyes. He had never had this before. He was surprised at this because he had spent many years in the dark. He turned around to look there again. Shinjagon looked at the mine from which he had been climbing for 8 whole years. But the guy remained the same. He was going to keep his promise. He began to walk through the forest that was around. During this time, the guy's hair grew a lot. He came to the place where he planned to begin his revenge. He knew that his path was already determined. He wanted to take revenge on everyone who did evil. The servants brought an antidote, and only this was left from the Smilax rhizomes. The leader told them to eat one each and follow him. They did not know how many enemies would surround them, 10 or 100. Their main goal was to exterminate them. They were soon to find out who they were. The head and his servants headed to the place where the poisonous smoke was coming from. The head looked around the forest around him. He saw red smoke and they headed towards him. They ran to the place from which poisonous smoke was coming. The head asked who they were. He wanted them to come out of the smoke so he could see them. The guy realized that the head of Chidek had come to him. The head asked why he dared to commit such a terrible act towards them. Smoke surrounded them in an ever-increasing area. And at one moment, that guy came out of the smoke. He answered him with a serious face that by right of revenge. The guy said that he was Chinjagon, and he came to take revenge for the Yak clan. The head was surprised that someone from his family survived. He didn't think their family was characterized by self-confidence. He wanted to know where the others were. The guy, being in the smoke, remained silent. A couple of seconds later, he replied that he was alone. The head and servants were surprised at this. Chief Chidiak thought it was just a joke and asked what he could do alone. The guy was surprised because they thought he was joking. The servants and their leader stood silently and listened to the guy. He didn't care what the guy said, and he decided to find out when he dealt with him. He noted that setting the cinnabar on fire and releasing smoke was a good idea, but he was still young and knew little. After all, cinnabar is a poison that the Chidek family worked with at one time, and the Chidek family had antidotes. They rushed to attack the guy with swords, saying that he would regret that he openly opposed them. The guy stood still while the servants ran at him, but suddenly those servants felt bad. Their eyes became dim from the effects of this poisonous smoke. He made a blow with his sword, but the guy ducked down and was able to avoid the blow. At that moment, the guy took out his knife. He plunged the knife into the first servant to attack. He began to fall to the ground, screaming in pain. The battle did not stop there, but only continued. The second guard began to attack the guy and swung his sword at him. But the guy, thanks to his training inside the mine, was able to stop his blow. The security guard didn't understand where this guy got this equipment from. The guy used his technique and threw the attacker away. The head ordered his guards to attack all together. Doubt and fear appeared on his face. The guy alone dealt with all the defenders. He found this very strange. After all, his speed and blade skill are a match for a beginner. He clearly had no experience in battles because he could not even dodge the blow. The head was surprised and did not understand. But why was this? One after another, they attacked this guy. There were many more of them. The guy also applied the throwing technique he had learned. Small balls flew straight into the warrior's eyes. This technique stopped him, and the servant began to fall to the ground, holding his eyes with his hands. The guy dealt with every attacking warrior. The head couldn't understand why they couldn't catch him then. He pushed his servant aside, angry at them for taking so long to fight some guy, and they should be ashamed because they could not detain him. He decided that he would deal with it himself. The head rushed to run towards the guy with lightning speed, leaving trails of dust behind him. He wanted to grab the guy with his hand. The head had not fought for a long time, but he was sure that he could easily deal with this guy. The hand was already approaching the guy's face, but he instantly retreated and the head began to fall to the ground. He didn't understand how this happened. He fell to the ground with a loud impact. The head felt strange, and his face began to swell again. It looks like he was at his limit, the guy said. He recalled that cinnabar poison affects the senses and ultimately leads to death. He asked if they really thought they could neutralize him. The effects of the poison began to manifest themselves on each warrior. They screamed in unbearable pain. The head said, "How is this possible?" because they ate Smilax rhizomes. And the boy asked them to remember what happened in the beginning. After all, when they came here, he was not burning cinnabar. It was green tea leaves. The first thing to consider when eating Smilax rhizomes is problems with the liver and kidneys. Anyone who has them should not take them. Secondly, if you use green tea leaves, the medicinal properties of Smilax rhizomes will lose their potency. The guy did not expect to defeat them by force, so he was simply biding his time so that the poison had time to manifest itself. After all, he had been preparing for this day for 8 years and he had enough knowledge. The head felt very bad and his strength gradually left him. He didn't want to die like this because he was only following orders from above. He asked to make a deal with him. If he gives him the antidote, Chidiak will help him restore the Yak family. But the guy said that he did not have an antidote because the poisons had no effect on his body. The head didn't understand how this was. The guy reminded him of the cinnabar mine and that he had been there for 8 years. He remembered what the guy was talking about. This is the boy on whom Elder Man Neo conducted experiments. He didn't understand how he managed to survive there. The guy said that the Yak clan no longer exists, but besides his family, there were a huge number of families that were killed at the hands of Chidak. Therefore, the families of the Dak family must answer for their deeds and disappear from the face of the earth. After all, no one was going to judge them, and Chinja Gang decided that he would be the one to do it. The guy decided to move on. Around him was the Chidak family, which was destroyed. Every protector who belonged to the Chidak family lay dead on the ground. He entered their huge house, which was previously heavily guarded. He remembered his loved ones who died because of the ores of the Chidok family. His mother, grandfather, father, and others, they were all brutally killed by the Chidok family. And Chinja gang finally fulfilled their wish. 8 years later, he was finally able to take revenge on them. The Chidok family paid with their existence for their deeds. However, her disappearance did not mean that everything was resolved. He entered Chidiak's house and saw a closed box. He opened it to see what was there. There were records and books that their family took from other clans. The only reason the Chidiak family had any power was because of the support of the powers that be in this world, and their family was just a pawn in the game of a rotten bunch of people. He began to read the notes. There were many different books there that interested the guy. It was already getting a little dark outside, and the sun was about to set soon, and the guy continued to read different entries. On the pages of one book, he noticed an interesting thing. According to an agreement between the families of the Dok clan, the owner of the Dok Waijong Valley, in order to dispel Baek Lee Jun's worries, tripled the explosion of the mine. The guy was surprised by this information. It turns out that the families of 3 generations of the Dok family were involved in what happened. The guy remembered the man's words that the mines were under the general management of the entire clan. Many people died in the mine because of Dok's hatred, and the decision to close that mine was made not only by Chidok's family. He decided to burn down their house, and if the Dok family is not stopped, people will continue to die at their hands. Ever since he emerged from the mine, this has been his mission. Blood for blood, he wanted to uproot the Dak family, and after that, take revenge on Morim. On the street, in one of the gazebos, someone was giving a lecture about the body and poisons. He said that the heart is protected by the liver, which takes the first blow. Therefore, if you use a poison that attacks the heart, the liver will begin to deteriorate first. The disciples were surprised by this. They thanked the teacher for this knowledge. He believed that they were overpraising him because he said that his knowledge was superficial. But the disciples denied this, telling him that he was the best at poisons. It was Elder Man. Next time, he wanted to tell the students about determining the type of poison based on the degree of liver damage. The students thanked him and said goodbye to the teacher. Having finished the lesson, the elder walked around his palace. A servant turned to him, saying that the head of the union was calling him. The elder, without uttering any reaction, decided to remain silent without emotion, and he decisively went to the head of the union, Morim Union of Associations, a branch of Huguang County. He greeted the head of the union. He stood on the balcony and a bird sat on his hand. He remembered that he had been promoted and should call him Baek Lee Kok Chu. The head of the union noted that he was slow, but the elder said that he was in a hurry to get here as best he could, and besides, he had a problem with his leg. He asked what issue he called him for. He had news that might interest him. He received a letter from Yunnan province. He tossed it to the elder. He looked at the letter. It was quite small. After reading it, he was shocked. His family was wiped out and Chidiak's family home was burned down in just one morning. And since Chidiak's family is part of Marine, he couldn't turn a blind eye to it, and he needed to clarify what exactly happened there. The elder began to laugh evilly. The head of Morim was surprised by this. He began to laugh even louder as if he had lost his head. The head of the union asked what's funny about this. The elder explained that it looked like the guy had returned. Chinja gang, for whom he had been waiting for so many years. He assumed that he should appear soon, but he could not think that he would show himself so boldly. And the first person he dealt with was his worst enemy, the Chidok family. But the head of the union recalled that the Chidiak family was weakened due to the fact that the elder hid the manuscripts and medicines. Anyone could have dealt with it. The head believed that it was unlikely that a child who spent 8 years in the mine was behind this. The likelihood of this happening is extremely low, but the elder believed in it. He didn't destroy Chidiak so he could have bait for the guy. And if it really was him, then everything is just beginning. Revenge happened too quickly. It won't be enough for him. The elder asked the head of the union to entrust him with the investigation and let him figure it out. The head of Marima did not know whether he could be trusted or not, but he still agreed to it. He threw the silver tablet onto the ground, which grants him rights equivalent to a researcher of the Morim Union. He thanked the head for his trust because it was a responsible matter. The elder told him that if one day the day came when he was given a great gift, the elder would hope that he would not forget his servant. He thanked him again and began to leave, but when he tried to open the door, he could not do it. He turned to the head and he wanted to tell him something else. He reminded him that no matter what rank he was now, he had to watch his language. Elder Man Neo took note of his remark. There was complete silence in the room. The elder was already thinking that it was time to harvest the seeds that he had planted a long time ago. After all, for him, the longer the fruit ripens, the sweeter it becomes. He wondered what else Chinja gang could do to amuse the elder. The elder set off on horseback through the forest. Revenge makes some people much stronger. He believed that revenge is the best engine. Having spent several years at the bottom of hell, splitting stones, he probably overcame himself several times. He knew that if he could one day get out of the mine, the Chidiak family would not be a hindrance to him. And that was really what he believed. Therefore, he went to one place. He decided to come to where it all happened. He looked around the grounds of the Chidiak family's house. The guy burned everything to the ground. He examined the bodies of the destroyed people. He was looking for some kind of trace. Suddenly, a throwing knife flew out of the air towards him. It hit the ground behind the elder. There was a man on the roof of the building. The man said he was lucky he recognized him. Otherwise, there would have been a hole in his throat. He asked what he forgot here. He said sarcastically that it was clear from their faces that they were very happy to see him. And also, there were gentlemen from Umbu and Dak Valley. It looks like all the families of 3 generations of Dak are together. The first was from Umbu Kuzan. The second was from Chio San Tanamji. The third comes from Dak Valley, Noyuk. The elder told them that he was here for the same reason as them. He couldn't stay away when he learned about such a terrible tragedy, even if he left his family. But Dak is his roots. The elder said that Morim allowed him to investigate the matter. He arrived here as quickly as possible to catch the culprit. The man Noyuk knew that he had hidden something that belonged to his family. He went down to him. The elder explained that the union had come to the conclusion that he was not involved. But the man knew that they were simply covering one of their own. He started yelling at him, but Ku Sangwoo stopped him. He asked him to relax, and if Counselor Man had come to investigate the matter, then the union had paid attention to it, and they need to take advantage of the opportunity and figure it out quickly. Elder Man thanked Tai Yup Ku for his help. The man, to Nam Ghi, asked what the union thought about what happened. The elder said that, in Morim, they believed that this was the work of the opposing Kakshapekli family. The man was surprised by this. Yuk didn't understand why Dok's family always gets it. They should have gone against this Bekli Jun right away. The elder told them that everything would become clear when they caught the culprit. Ku Sangwoo asked what he had already found out. The elder thought about it. He noted that all the corpses were burned, but there were no signs of wounds on them. He assumed that the enemy had dealt with them in some other way and that there was some poison involved. He asked to follow him to show him what they had found. He was discovered in the afternoon and they could barely identify him. They discovered Chief Chidak. The symptoms were from cinnabar poison. They did not understand what method the enemy used to spread the poison. He looked around and there was a cauldron behind him. He approached him to examine him. He said that this was the key to the spread of the poison. This was the medical art of burning cinnabar. After burning it, mercury remains. It seems that the enemy acted exactly like that. And judging by the fact that there were tea leaves there, the enemy was prepared even if they took the antidote. There was nothing they could do in such a situation. The man realized that the enemy understood that he could not defeat them by force. But when they catch him, he won't cause them problems. At this time, the elder noted another piece of evidence for himself. Now he was sure that he was right and that it was Chinjagang. And this poison was very difficult to cope with, and this is another proof. Considering his body's ability to accumulate poisons, he was able to collect a huge amount of cinnabar while in the mine. The guy wanted to let Chidek understand who they were facing, so that they would understand at whose hands they would die. The elder understood that the guy had become truly strong. He really wanted to see the anger appear on his face. His look was simply insane. They asked the elder if he was okay, because he looked strange. They reminded him that it was too late and it was time to leave. Tomorrow they want to continue the investigation and offered to go home with them, but the elder refused. They agreed to meet tomorrow at this place in the morning. They left, but the elder remained there. He knew that tonight was supposed to be fun. He continued to stand in the middle of the forest. It was already quite late at night. The servants were still awake and were waiting for the head. The head returned to his servants, who successfully waited for him. The commander said that so far they had not found any clues and there were no enemies at the scene. The servant admitted that they ran away because they knew that people would come to that place. The commander noticed 2 dead people on the ground. He asked in surprise what happened here. The servants said that they did not agree to give up their house to them. He asked to remove them from here. The commander said that there are no more cases for today. The investigation will continue tomorrow. Bags of something began to fly into their territory. At this time, the commander was telling us that tomorrow we would have to work hard. The servants were surprised by this, but they were ready for new challenges. They began to examine these mysterious bags. Suddenly, bags of poison exploded near them. The commander could not figure out what was happening and where the smoke came from. He quickly realized that it was poisonous smoke and asked the servants not to inhale it. It was someone's enemy attack. Smoke quickly spread throughout the air. The servants began to cough, choking on this poison. The enemy was always waiting for the moment when they would come here. He didn't know who was behind this, and the guy was near that house because the poison had no effect on him. There was more and more toxic smoke around. The head understood that in such a situation, it was impossible to act rashly. The smoke made it difficult to see what was happening. The enemies fled after destroying the Chidiok family. The enemies were waiting for them to return to attack. While the guards could not breathe, the guy made his way through the smoke closer to them. One of them noticed the silhouette of the enemy. The other man also realized that there was an enemy here. He was waving the weapon in front of him when the guy was already behind him. He looked to the side and believed that the enemy was hiding there. He saw this silhouette and fired his weapon at it, but it seems he was a little mistaken in his aim. It hit another guard and he fell to the ground. The man was afraid that he shot at the wrong person, and there was a guy behind him and attacked him with a knife. The head knew that the poison had no effect on enemies, and besides, it was not difficult for them to fight in the dark. If things continued like this, they would not survive. He asked his servants to split up so that each could see his neighbor in order to drive the enemies into the center. They obeyed the leader and separated as he asked. They began to approach closer to the center. Toxic smoke continued to spread around. Someone saw a silhouette in the center of the circle. He quickly reported that he saw their enemy here. The head said that they should not let the enemies escape and move to the center. The servant reminded him that he could hurt his people. The head knew this, but couldn't think of any other way. The head began to strike many times at the center of the circle. The servant did not understand why he was doing this, but he had no other idea because it would be a shame to die here from the poisonous smoke. When the Fajol needle hits you, the bones begin to dissolve, causing unbearable pain. If at least one needle hits the target, victory will be theirs. Making his way through the smoke, he saw a boy who had been hit by several needles and fell. The head was surprised that they were attacked by one child. He believed that this was unlikely, and while he was still alive, he needed to find out information. Suddenly, the guy opened his eyes and raised his head. He grabbed a knife and rushed to attack him. The head was able to block one blow with his hand, but the blow was quite strong, and he flew several meters away. The head couldn't believe what was happening. After all, the guy continued to move under the effect of the needle. He thought maybe he missed, but the guy owned the secret weapon of the Osong family. This weapon is the flight line of the 12 earthly branches. A needle began to fly into one of the servant's head. The head did not understand what was happening here. The guy attacked the servant with their own weapon. The servant fell to the ground. The head needs to be more careful, but after a couple of seconds, his gaze froze. His body received the same effect from the needle. The head did not understand how this could happen. He admitted that he may have inhaled poison. The moment the guy hit him, he got angry at the guy and screamed. The needle went straight into his body. The guy, using that technique, was able to deliver this blow with a needle. The head lay on the ground and did not believe that he could lose to this guy. He didn't want to give up and took the needle into his own hands. He stuck the needle into the guy's leg with all his might. He raised his head to look at his face, but he was shocked. The guy said that Fajol needles have a really amazing effect, but these needles won't do anything to the guy. The head didn't understand where the guy got such abilities and who he was. The guy told him that he was from the Yak clan, but the man didn't understand. What does he have to do with it? The boy told him that it was a long story and that it was enough for him to know only this. After all, he would not have had time to listen to him. The effect of the needle was very fast, and after these words, Head Kyosen died. The guy was able to single-handedly defeat another family. On the street, a man approached Mr. Noyuk. He said that they should go to that place because the umbu pigeon flew in, and it looks like something happened to Kyosan. Chapter Noyuk was surprised by this. Had the enemy really attacked them? First the destruction of Chittock, now this. This made him uneasy. They decided to go there too, and asked everyone to get ready for it. He thought that Tunam Gi and Kusongwul were alive. However, they need to act carefully because they did not know the enemy. Chapter Noyuk saw an unknown man. He asked what he was doing here. It was Elder Man Nyo. His gaze was crazy. The elder said that he came on business. The head said that they were leaving and they would talk to him later, to which the elders replied that they would not succeed. The head asked what kind of business this is. The elder said that all members of Dyoke Valley must die by his hand. They looked at the elder in surprise. The head was angry with him because he was saying nonsense. He repeated, laughing, that they should all die. It seems that after joining Muram, he became very arrogant because why would they die by his hand? He replied that he had personal reasons for this. The head said that he still wanted to deal with this traitor, and since he was not the instigator of the conflict, there will be no problems with Muram. He rushed to attack Elderman, but the elder said that only the head should die here. Later, they decided to come to the place where the attack took place. On command, they began to attack, but the man stopped when he saw something. There was a man on the ground who survived the attack. They saw survivors and began to rescue them. The man wanted to tell him something, but he could not understand him. Suddenly, a needle stuck into his body. It was a phageal needle. He told the others to run away because the enemy had defeated the Keelsan family. He screamed from the pain that the needle brought. The man was standing on the roof of the building. The man realized that the enemy had left the embroiderers as bait and attacked from the blind spot using Chulsan's weapon. It seemed to him that the enemy was a strong fighter, but he worried in vain. After all, if he were a master, he would have faced them directly face to face. He saw where the needles were flying from, and he roughly understood where the enemy was. And the Umbu divine technique worked perfectly in the darkness. He began to examine the toxic smoke around him. He saw the place where the enemy was. He stuck a knife into his body. He said that he did not specifically aim for the heart, so as not to kill it immediately, and let him answer his questions. But he saw that the body began to fall, and it was not the enemy. It turned out to be the murdered head of another family. This means the enemy was hiding somewhere else. He suspected it was behind him, and so it was. The guy with the weapon of the defeated family stood behind. He used this weapon to shoot the man. The guy made a very powerful attack. The man was unable to react in time. He was thrown high into the air. After flying for a few seconds, it hit the ground. The guy began to leave the house he was in. The guy took a few steps towards the place where the man was supposed to be, but his view changed dramatically. When we got closer, he wasn't there. The man attacked the guy and said that the guy must have thought that victory was already in his pocket. The guy tried to fight off the man. Suddenly, blood gushed out. Drops of blood began to drip onto the ground. But time returned to the conflict between the elder and the head. The elder cut off the attacker's hand and said that they decided to attack him without appreciating his abilities. Did he say that they were so weak to begin with, or quietly nicknamed themselves part of the Dock Valley? The head did not understand how this happened. Everything happened so quickly. He thought that he used some kind of trick and asked others to attack. They began to take out weapons to attack him together. They started running towards the elder to kill him, but he was able to avoid their blows and they ran past. The attackers saw that he was missing. The head was greatly shocked by this. The warrior's face was cut. He struck at the attacking warriors. The head realized that this was not a trick at all. The elder said that he finally realized this. He approached him and asked if he knew the difference with true martial art. His eyes were filled with fear. There was a sharp impact on the ground. The head was able to retreat a few meters. The elder thought that he would kill him with one blow, but it is not for nothing that he is called a master. The head realized that all this time he had been silent about his abilities. The elder told him that there was no need to demonstrate them before. He hid his strength for an occasion like this. The head asked, "This case, is this their valley?" The elder said that he was not interested in him, but in that child. After all, he acted much more decisively than he expected, and he wants to deal with them before all the families of the Dock clan mobilize. After all, it would be difficult for him to fight 3 masters at once, and he decided to help him a little. The head said that it turns out he knew who their enemy was. He asked where he met this kid, Jigang. The elder said that this is a long story, and for him, he is an enemy, a child, a teacher, and an image to admire. And Chittik's family and himself have been groveling before others for a long time. He had to endure to achieve his goals. He didn't have enough words to describe how they lived then. Only he was his light in the darkness of those days. He made him better, and in his heart lies not only anger, but also a whole palette of feelings. And he couldn't let him go. The head did not understand what nonsense he was talking about. He explained that he had personal reasons for doing this. He suggested that we leave the conversation and finish what we started. The elder saw the leader preparing his yellow fire technique to attack him. Realizing this, he began to attack him because he already knew about his technique. The head said that he should have known about her power. The elder was able to dodge the blow from the technique. He replied that of course he knew about the power of technology. He started killing him and the head asked him to stop. The elder was able to destroy him. He dealt with this family and looked at the poisonous smoke coming from afar. There the battle was in full swing. The guy stopped the knife blow with his hand. In the other hand, there was a weapon from that family. The enemy was able to snatch it. The guy was able to attack his opponent. The guy also wanted to use the needle throwing technique. The head realized this and thought about what he should do now. He used an umbrella to protect himself from the needles. Not a single needle hit him, but during this, the guy was able to hide in the smoke. The man said that the guy would not be able to survive because there was poison on the dagger that cut his hand. First, it should paralyze his arm and then his whole body. He examined his hand, which was indeed cut, but the man did not know that the guy was resistant to poisons. He tried to detect the enemy. He heard loud and sharp sounds near him. The guy reacted instantly and immediately began to attack him. They began to fight with their sharp daggers. They continued this difficult battle for a long time. The guy was successfully able to block all his blows. The man noted that the guy was clumsy, but he was holding firm, and he didn't think that he would decide to engage in close combat with him. The head began to use his technique with his second hand, but the guy was able to dodge his blow. He realized that he was not so simple. He hoped to capture him alive in order to find out information about his accomplices, but this would not be easy. The man asked him to surrender. After all, the guy is just stalling for time, and he won't defeat him with one hand. Then the guy said that now it was his turn. He suddenly began to attack the man with his blade. The head did not expect such a quick blow, but he was still able to turn away from this guy's blow. The man got very angry with him and wanted to destroy the guy, but the guy quickly found himself behind the man. He didn't understand where he got such speed from and when did he manage to get behind. They began their sword fight again. Looks like the guy was hiding his abilities. With every second, his movements became even faster, although the poison should have slowed him down. The man used his striking technique. A rather powerful explosion occurred at the battle site, but the guy remained safe and sound. The guy told him that the man only thought that the guy had fast technique. But this was not the case at all, and he was very mistaken. He noticed a small wound with blood on his face. The guy still managed to hurt him then, and it turns out that it was his perception that was disrupted, and not the guy who became faster. And he attacked so that the man would not notice how the poison was spreading throughout the body. The guy said everything was right. The man realized that a dangerous adversary had emerged from him. The man said that the end of the battle would be soon and he had nothing to lose. He would have to destroy him in one blow. He stopped and stood there, pondering his actions. His look changed a lot in one moment. The guy watched this with caution. The man used a powerful shadow projectile dash. He told him not to even hope for salvation. After all, he will aim at the paralyzed left side of the guy's body. He was already approaching the guy to strike him with this powerful blow. But something stopped him, and his gaze was filled with pain. The guy stuck the needle into the heart area with his left hand. The man was sure that the guy had a paralyzed arm, but somehow he was able to stick the needle into his body with that hand. The guy pulled out the needle because the poison had already penetrated his body. The man felt very ill from this powerful poison. The guy looked at him with the look of a winner. The man fell to the ground. He didn't know that poisons had no effect on the guy, which is why he lost. And the guy just pretended that his arm was paralyzed. He had other enemies, but he no longer had any strength left. He thought about whether they would attack or decide to retreat. The guy's gaze moved to another place. He noticed Salji. It was an evil energy. She was very far away, but he felt her. Is this really the power of the energy of the master of Dock Valley? If that was the case, then he had no chance of defeating him now. He completed his plan for today, dealt with another family. The elder understood that a long journey awaited him, but there would be enough events for today. He was glad that he could see the guy become stronger. He was looking forward to their meeting. The elder sat on the roof of the house at night. He believed that the guy was aware of the whole situation, judging by what happened to those top-class fighters. And in the Chidek family, there were only 3 families left, namely Kyle-san, Unbu, and Doak Valley. He was wondering which family he would start with. The elder assumed that the guy would start with the Chulson family, who use Pahal needles in battle. They are the weakest of the 3 families. By eliminating them, it would be possible to weaken Doc's forces in general. But if he starts with them, the 2 stronger families will have time to prepare for defense. He thought about what if he attacked the Umbu or Dock Valley. Having defeated one of them, one could consider the Dock clan almost exterminated, but he believed that this was an absurd tactic for him. But destroying Dok Valley is not the same as destroying Chidok. After all, this is where Murim must intervene. He thought about it and decided to start with the Umbu family. They use divine techniques and mostly attack from behind. They are ready to attack anywhere. He realized that if the guy decided to wipe out the Dak family from the face of the earth, it would not matter to him whether the enemy was weak or strong. He took out a tablet from Murim. He guessed where he would go. The elder has been training and he has enough strength to easily break the guy's neck, and he didn't want to kill the guy so easily. The path that the guy chose is the true path of Sura. If everything turns out that way, then his life will be filled with blood and battles until the end of his days. He thought about helping the guy with something. He wanted to guide him towards this path. The elder saw many killed people on the street. He believed that it was Chin Jagang who killed him, and he was blinded by revenge and turned into a psychopathic killer. Why did he need to kill ordinary residents? They did not belong to the Dak family. A strange smile appeared on his face. He started laughing hard again. The guy was in a village somewhere in the forest. Chinjagan washed himself with water from a well that was located there, and the guy stopped with him to rest. After training, the guy's body was quite pumped up. He remembered his grandfather's words in the mine. When he completes his training and gets out of here, he will be much stronger than his former self, but he should take into account that this new power is only in his head. They told him that without practice it means nothing, but using it according to the situation is a completely different matter. The guy asked what he should do. People reminded him to take his time and remain vigilant and sober in assessing his options. And when he can know himself, he will be ready to confront the enemy. The guy realized that they were right. He trained alone for 8 years and he lacks real combat experience. Because of this, it was impossible to dodge the attacks of enemies, and blocked blood and energy flows prevent him from fully using martial arts. But such battles are the only opportunity to train. It's risky, but the results will be worth it. He knew that stronger opponents awaited him next, and he had to become better in order to fight them off and improve the methods of using poison. After all, it was poison that, until now, had helped him resist the power of his enemies. He said that Chidiac gave them this poison, and he owes it to them to return it in the same form. He had to hurry. 3 days later in Yunnan province, the headquarters of Doak Valley, the servants called Mr. Koku to announce an emergency message. The owner of the valley, Doak, was sitting at the table at that time. The servant wanted to tell about Mr. Noyuk. The servant said that during the investigation into the murder of the Chidiac family, Mr. Noyuk died. The owner was shocked by this news, and he also said that the fighters Chulsan and Nbu also died. The owner wanted to know what exactly happened there. He wanted to send his soldiers there to find out the details. He couldn't believe that Noyuk was killed, as well as Chidiac, although they were weak. It was strange. The owner of Dock Valley understood that someone clearly harbored a grudge against Rod Dock, and this was a serious matter. The owner said that he would find out everything himself. At this time, Admiralty Advisor Man arrived. He told Mr. Kokshu not to strain himself, because the boy would come to him himself. Mr. Kokshu did not expect to see him here. He said that they had not seen each other for quite some time. The gentleman said that he was not welcome here. But Counselor Man asked if he really believed that he had betrayed Chidiac. He stated that everything that happened was just a misunderstanding. A strange purple smoke formed around. The servant began to cough from this mysterious smoke. He wanted to ask him why he was talking about Noyuka. The poison made the man feel very sick every minute. This poisonous smoke came from Counselor Man Neo. He added that they still seemed to perceive him as the elder of a third-rate family. He breathed in some clean air, and he spat this poison right out of his mouth. The head said that Bek Tam Hyang, a man who sprays poison that has 100 cents, and he really lives up to his nickname. And the head added that he was not capable of anything more than this. The head used his power right on him, but this did nothing for Counselor Man. He stated that his tricks would not work on him. The head said anxiously that Man had become stronger. He was surprised by his great strength, which he had not seen before. It seems that after joining the alliance, his skills were greatly improved. However, it is wrong to think that his poison is his only weapon. Investigator Man said that it would be nice to test each of his abilities, but he was not interested in the conflict and mentioned no Yuka because it was he who conveyed the news of his death. The head asked the servant if this was true, to which he received the answer that it was true. The head asked how Man Neo knew about what happened. He learned this because the Chidiac family is part of Murim. He took out a tablet that said Murim Union and said that he had come to the place as a researcher from the Union. The head listened to him carefully, and Man Neo said that upon arriving there, everyone was already dead, even civilians. The head asked who could have done this. Man Neo stated that he was not sure if it was the same person who destroyed Chidiac. However, he was sure that the enemy had his eye on all the Doak families. The head didn't understand why he was talking about the enemy in the singular. Man Neo said that from afar he saw him killing people like Sura. The head asked why he didn't grab him then. Man Neo stated that he was scared, and if he died, there would be no witnesses to what happened. Man Neo was not afraid of his poison, but the enemy, on the contrary. He realized that he was the same cunning fox as he was before. He asked him about some useful information. Manyo said that he was not able to see him clearly, but he tracked where he went, and he's heading right here. The head said that he has an idea that Kyle-san will act as bait, and they will call everyone they can to surround him with a solid ring. He loved the idea of being surrounded on all sides. This is a siege tactic in which a huge number of people block the enemy's escape route. Even a high-class fighter cannot escape. However, the enemy, once surrounded, will begin to attack the weakest units, and they risk losing many fighters. The head understood that without knowing the enemy, this tactic should not be used. He asked him if he wanted to destroy their family. Man Neo stated that he knows what the enemy is capable of, and how can he doubt him? The head did not want to be dramatic, and he did not like the fact that an outsider was meddling in Doc's business, and said that nothing more was required of him. But Man Yao showed him the tablet again, saying that he was a researcher of the Alliance. The head was very angry with him. He aggressively shouted at him that he was not in Murim now, but in Yunnan. There was a minute pause. Everyone fell silent. Manhwa just looked at the head with displeasure, and he said, since they don't want it, he won't insist on it. Manhwa just wanted to add something. He stated that the enemy was limping on one leg, and they need to beware of the lame. And investigator Manhwa left there. Wei Zhan's reaction was expected because he was the one who weakened Chi Diok, lowered his influence, and also tried to subdue him by force, so he was very angry with him. Now the eyes of all the families were directed at Ki Il-san, and not at the Anbu. Investigator Manhwa was happy about this. For a guy, Anbu are very annoying individuals because you never know where and how they will attack. If it were him, he would attack the Anbu first to get rid of the element of surprise. He decided to go to him. He expected to see him angry. He gave the guy a chance that he could use as he saw fit. From Kokshavajan, all the DOK families received letters with instructions. They said that each family should assemble a detachment of 20 people to capture Salsu, who was heading to Kyolson. The man read this strange letter, and also that you need to beware of a suspicious lame man. Meanwhile, in the Yunnan settlement, people were working and collecting hay on one of the streets. There were servants on the tower who watched the workers so that they did not do anything wrong. The guy was in the bushes and inspecting the settlement. At first glance, she seemed ordinary. He noticed how refined their movements were when working. They were also well trained, which proves that this area belongs to Anbu. There were about 30 people here. An open attack would be equivalent to death. The guy had to come up with something. People there were collecting things in large bags. The guy heard that people were building a buckwheat farm. When the first harvest comes, they all eat sabien together, and it would be possible to add poison to them. In the last battle, he used almost all the cinnabar poison that was in him, and there were practically no poisons left that were stolen from Chittuk. He needed to replenish his supplies. While walking through the forest, Chinjagang noticed something. There was a plant called purple bindweed growing in the forest. He knew a thing or two about Ipomea purpurea seeds. They have a laxative effect and also cause swelling and pain in the lower back. If taken in large quantities, it can cause diarrhea and hallucinations, and even lead to death. Just a couple of seeds will not be enough for him. But if you extract the poison from a large number of seeds, it can create a strong poison. He ate one flower. This poison will be capable of easily killing 30 people. A few days later, near that place, the worker decided to wash the batch of cereal and come back. The worker began to rinse the cereal, thinking about how he would finally get his fill of sobian. The guy hid in the bushes at that time. He stabbed the worker using a poisonous needle. The man did not understand what it was. Jinjagang calmly walked out of the bushes. The guy stabbed him to use his idea. An emergency situation has been declared in the settlement. During the day, people in the mountains discovered the corpse of one of their family members, who had gone to wash buckwheat. The dead man was poisoned, so there is every chance that Salsu could be behind this. People had to search the area. This was the order of the head of the family. The message that came from Doak Valley said that the enemy was heading towards Keelsun. This means it was probably false information, but he didn't care about that. After all, he believed that this villain would die at his hands. People began to search the area around the settlement. The guy was on the street at that time and saw the light from people's torches, but they didn't see him and walked past without even looking in his direction. The guy with the bag went on his way. He stopped at a well in that big village. This was the last poison he had left of all. The guy wanted to throw him into the water, but a sudden blow was struck on his hand. This knocked the bag of poison out of his hands. He had a piece of metal stuck in his hand. They turned to him saying that he was a rat and asked if he thought that they would not understand that he was hiding here. He invaded Umbu territory and tried to poison the well. They said the guy was trapped and couldn't get out. The head of the Umbu began to approach him and added that the guy had nowhere to run. The guy was alarmed because he needed to escape somehow. The guy was surrounded by soldiers. It was clear that the guy began to get nervous. The head noticed from his face that he did not understand how they found him. He thought his plan was to lure his men into the mountains and infiltrate the base. The head said that this would have happened if they did not have information about him. The guy realized that then he did not destroy all the enemies because information about him surfaced. He asked the guy if he was the one who destroyed Chidiak. The guy answered positively. He also asked if he had brutally killed soldiers and civilians. The guy stated that he only killed soldiers but did not touch civilians and did not understand what he was talking about. The head told him not to pretend, because he killed them so that there would be no witnesses. The guy didn't understand what he was talking about. After he left there, did something happen there? He didn't argue with him and said that the main thing was that he was caught. The head asked why he needed to do all this and for what purpose. The guy threw a needle at the head's face, but he had enough reaction to grab the needle and avoid the blow. The guy threw a bag of poison on the ground. The poison began to spread. People began to choke on it. The guy, taking advantage of the moment, began to attack the servants. The other guards saw this and began to attack him. They had a fight. This was the Posam family. There was a strong energy scream. The head asked not to kill the guy because they need him alive, but they didn't understand how to get to him. After all, the guy was in a cloud of toxic smoke. The head used the combat projectile dash technique. He was able to hit the guy. The guy fell to the ground and people started approaching him. They grabbed the guy and said that they couldn't believe that 2 heads of families died from this child. The head dealt the guy several blows with his technique, which pierced his body. With this technique, he became immobilized. They locked him up and wanted to go to Dock Valley in the morning for interrogation. They were so excited to finally catch this guy. They closed the door to that room. They decided to go to the table to eat and drink in peace. Today, for some reason, even Sabian seemed especially tasty to them. The head was glad he caught him. At the upcoming meeting of the Dock family, they will be able to improve their situation. The guy opened his eyes. The servants saw that the guy had woken up and brought him food. They prepared so beyond, and it is their tradition to eat it during the harvest. The head of the family handed him over and asked him to eat when he could move. That's exactly what he asked me to say. He took it and started eating because his friend, with whom he was going to eat Sabian, died at the hands of the guy. And he doesn't deserve this food. He started kicking the guy. He wished him death because the guy did this. Suddenly the guy grabbed his leg. The guard did not understand how he was able to move, because he should have been immobilized. The guy said that trick didn't work on him. Suddenly, the guard started bleeding. He fell to the ground, not understanding what was happening and screaming in pain. The guy took his sword and said that they lost their brothers. But because of them, the guy lost everything he had. The guy thought it was fair. He screamed in pain. The guy raised his sword and said that they were just paying for their sins. The head's gaze changed sharply and was filled with fear. All his guards and workers began to fall to the ground and spit blood. Some even had white foam coming out of their mouth. Several people were already completely dead. They asked the head for help. The head broke his mug out of anger. He couldn't understand how this happened. He realized that his internal organs were damaged due to the poison. But when did they get poisoned? At that moment, the guy came into their room. He opened the door and said that it looked like he was on time. The guy explained that he deliberately let himself be caught so that they would calm down and be able to eat Sobian. The head remembered that they stopped him before he threw the poison into the well, and they threw away all the buckwheat that they washed during the day in the mountains. But the guy pointed to the empty bag and said that he was the one who brought it. Inside, it was glutinous rice flour. He realized that it was just a disguise. So, Bian is made from buckwheat and rice flour. So, no one noticed that there was poison in it. He went to extreme measures. The head at first thought that the guy was stupid and they saw through his plan. He asked who he was. He said that he is a descendant of the Yak family. The head asked, from which family specifically? The guy said he was from Baikwajagak. He shouted furiously that he had never even heard of her. The guy named several families, such as Osung, Sanghuan Valley, Kusung family, Yangjim clan. He asked if he had heard of them. He said nothing. The guy realized that if he was silent, it meant he was familiar with these names. The guy said that this was revenge on them for killing them, and they must pay with their lives. The head said that the guy couldn't get rid of them so easily. The guy wished them luck to stay alive. The head was delighted. After all, now he will be able to contain the poison of the seeds with the help of internal energy. But the head noticed smoke and a bright light on the street. Looks like the guy set fire to the building where the food was being prepared, and it all caught fire. He needed to get out of there. He was at his limit, but he needed to get out. He was trying to get out of the burning house. The guy heard their screams of pain. He started to leave there, having fulfilled his idea. But the guy turned around and saw something. The head practically walked out of the burning house. He started watching him. The head threatened him that he would take revenge on the guy. Hey, part 2 has come to an end, and if you've watched to this point, you want part 3. To do so, write the secret word in the comments. Venom. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It's very important to me. See you later and bye-bye.